Welcome to Onboard Live from the Ocean Race. You join us on leg 5 of the Ocean Race Europe 2025, connecting Europe. And today it's the battle from Genova to Boka Bay. That is our final destination. We are getting near the end of this competition. I'm Noah Best, and joining me for commentary today is a long-time previous competitor in the Ocean Race and winner of the previous Ocean Race Europe, Annie Lush. And Annie, I mean, it's been, we'll get into all of it, but it's been quite a challenge the last few days, and certainly the last 24 hours for our teams.
Yeah, this part of the Med, very tricky, and we've had a lot of thunderstorms, a lot of activity, a lot of weather the last 24 hours as well. So just to add that in on top for them, I think, you know, 0 knots, 35 knots is never that easy.
And this is the big leg. This is the 1,500 nautical mile leg. This is the one that's the real challenge for our sailors. Not just in terms of the physicality, not just in terms of the length and the sleepless nights, but also in terms of the strategy. It's a really open book. I mean, this is how the course has been laid out here. From that start in Genova, through the scoring gate, and then down between the islands towards Sicily. That's where we find ourselves at the moment. Before, in the next few days, we'll be pushing to that eastern tip of the Mediterranean, and then finally weaving our way north and into that final finish line, that last destination for the race, Boka Bay in Montenegro. How has all that been played out? Well, from that scoring gate, it was incredibly tight. About 24 hours ago, Paprick Arcaire was the first to cross the scoring gate. They picked up the 2 points. Just 57 seconds behind was Alla Grande Mappe. And then the fleet have really split up into multiple groups. We've had Team Amala feeling the pinch at the back, as well as Canada Ocean Racing, B Water Porcelain being left behind. Then it was Team Holcim PRB's turn to slip behind, leaving 4 IMOCAs charging east, vying for the lead. And in the last 24 hours, we have had each of these boats taking multiple turns in the lead. At times, they have been so close it has come down to mere boat lengths between the boats. And right now, we are getting very close to rounding through the last of our islands, coming through that final gate, and then pushing on to the eastern Mediterranean. A real crunch point tactically for our teams. And we have got all of them on the water, pushing hard and trying desperately to find the right decision, that right little moment to make for that final chance to push forward. So, Annie, I mean, I think it's fair to say, I think it's right to say that the IMOCAs do not find themselves in this part of the world and in this part of the sea very often.
No, I mean, I think you'd have to have taken a wrong turn on the Vendée to end up here, wouldn't you? When you're trying to get around the world fast, this is not the way you're going. So this is new territory for sure. These are very difficult conditions. Remember, we've got boats that are designed for foiling. They've got big things dragging under the water.
And ultimately, for Alan Rohrer and the rest of the team on Team Amala, they are facing a mountain climb. And ultimately, this is a boat, we can't sugarcoat it. They are being outclassed here, but I've got to say I'm quite impressed with the fact that they've sort of taken it on the chin. They refuse to give up, and they are building a team for the future. The aim here is to look ahead to see building some talent within the young Swiss offshore team.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder actually how much, you know, in a way they're aware of where they are in the race. It's something. I know it looks simple, it looks like it's light and not much happening, but I can promise you on the IMOCA there's a lot going on, and I'm sure, you know, for them they're learning a lot, and there's a lot that they've got to learn, whether or not they've got boats around them or not. So I mean, brilliant effort by all of them.
It's a really hard boat to be on, to live on board Team Amala. We're going to have, there's a little bit of a treat coming up, a little bit of a sneak preview, but we are going to get a drone in the air, and we are also looking to get that live feed beamed to us here. So we're used to following the boats from on board, but we're actually going to get a chance to see how it all looks from above, airborne and live. We are going to be bringing you that live drone flight shortly in our show. We're also going to be talking to some of the sailors at the front of the fleet, as well as taking a look at how the last 24 hours has played out for some of them. And I won't tell you the ending, but let me just say that for every single boat in our fleet, it has been a really grueling 24 hours. For Team Amala, they have that option to just come off the pace. But either way, it's just a difficult boat to sail on, to sort of cram everybody on. It's pretty difficult. You compare that now with Paprik Arkea, who's in the front of the fleet, and this is a boat that it hasn't been built for more than one person on board. But comparatively with Team IMOCA, it looks spacious.
It looks very nice, doesn't it? All white inside, and that is quite a difference. I can vouch for that, having sailed around the world in a black boat, and I think in the Med here, you'd be very happy to be inside in a white boat, yeah. It does look quite spacious, but I'm pretty sure it won't feel like that after a few days on board with 5 of you.
No, that is very true, because what we're seeing there, that spaciousness. Salut, Johan, salut. What we're seeing there is the working area. That's barely enough room to get all 4 people in there, plus an onboard reporter on the winch handles and grinding and everything. It's down below where you're really sort of cramped. And I think it's that is the challenge for all of these boats, where you put that balance. Do you make the boat comfortable to live in, but perhaps a little bit slower on the water, but your sailors will be fresh? Or do you make it hard for the sailors, but ultimately fast? But that is a philosophical debate that will rage on for years. But right now, let's see whether we can get this drone into the air and neatly. So there we can go. The drone is launched off the back of Team IMOCA, at the moment in 7th place in the fleet. And sadly, I've got to say, in terms of the miles that they have lost and the miles left to run, it will take something special for them to close up. But every day is a chance to learn. Every day is a chance to see how's best to not only sail the boat, but also look after yourself offshore and try to improve the level of energy, the level of enthusiasm that you can bring to that search for speed.
And don't forget now that, you know, sorry, the thing with the ocean race, you know, Europe here is you're going to come into land, and when you come into land, there can often be no wind. So it is not over for them. There is always a chance to catch up, and it could be right at the end, in the last hours.
I think every single team, we've seen that time and time again. And it's interesting that these drones, this view that we can get off in terms of the weather, in terms of the sails, makes a bit of a difference. I think we can just have a listen in while they're just trying to set up that connection to us.
Pretty busy couple of hours with many changes in the wind, and lots of sail changes, lots of trimming, and doing our very best to go as fast as we possibly can. Sorry. Yep. And so here you can, you should be receiving the image now. And so we're currently sailing with a sail that we call the quad, which is like a deep code 0. And then we have the J3 and of course the full main. And we've only got 14.5 miles before we get to the next waypoint, hotel. And once we get to there, then we'll have the opportunity to start heading westwards and towards the waypoint where everybody else is at the moment. And so we're in full send mode at the moment, doing our very best to catch up. The good breeze has been quite rare, so we're doing our very best to make use of the wind while we have it, because we're in classic Mediterranean conditions, which means lots of uncertainty as to what's to come. And so if you've got the image now, then you can see that, we'll let Adrian catch up. This boat is hooning now, at 14 knots of boat speed. And so you can see the black foil is sticking out the side. Obviously we've got the port one, the left-hand side, deployed into the water. And then with the shot here, you can see the slot between the 2 sails. And so those 2 sails are working together to curve the wind. And that's what drives us forward. And the balance of the lift coming from the keel and from the foil is what allows the bow to come out of the water and us to power along at full speed with only 7 degrees of heel, so almost upright. And that's because the power from the foil is allowing the boat to fight against the force of the wind. Okay. Fais le tour. Yeah. Fantastic. So here I've got the bird's eye view with Adrian. We're turning around the boat here, so wow, that's a cool shot. And then if you look down in the middle of this shot, you can see the little shark's fin of the foil that's sticking up out of the water. So that's Adrian.
Well, a little bit of a chance to have a little bit of a look, but sadly weren't quite able to bring you that live shot. But we might be able to bring you that live shot a little bit later on. But now let's jump on with the boats further up the field. So we are on board now with Team Holcim PRB, the skipper Rosalind Kuiper.
We just have Sardinia in the back. We're sailing nicely downwind, 15 knots of breeze. Finally have wind again, and we're catching up on the fleet. They're doing currently a couple of knots. They have not much breeze, so that's very good news for us. Mood is good on board. Long night. We had a big night yesterday with different thunderclouds and a lot of lightning. But now we're moving again and then catching up on the fleet, so that's always good. And we expect tomorrow evening that the fleet, so the pack ahead, they have a low breeze again. So we have good hope that we can come closer and closer, and then and we catch them. So we keep on pushing hard, and all good here. We have a little Aperol.
So this is what was happening on Team Holcim PRB earlier, and it was interesting to see Rosalind Kuiper so happy and smiling, because just like we've had with so many of the boats on the water, broach after broach after broach. We got a little bit of a glimpse of it earlier there, the thunderstorms, the clouds, so much energy in the sky. And Andy, as you were saying, at this part of the Mediterranean, you get a little bit of energy up there. You get really changeable, violent shifts in conditions.
Well, just watching to see what's going to happen on board here, but super tricky when you have the breeze going from, you know, probably 15 knots to 25 knots, or, you know, a range like that, because it's not just the sails you've got to trim. Remember, we've got the foil, we've got the keel, and there is a lot going on board. Also, you know, the boat could be on autopilot, and sometimes the autopilot doesn't do what you expect in these conditions. So it's super tricky, and you do end up broaching more than you might imagine. The good thing is the IMOCAs are normally quite good at getting back on their feet again after that. Hence, we had Rosalind smiling, and I mean, that must be a good feeling right now, because they are sending
Yeah.
it, and everyone else is sitting like a duck in front of them. So, you know, it's always good when you come out of that bad night and you can have some sort of hope in front of you.
Hi, hello, welcome on board à la Grande Mapei. And here on the IMOCA, we have an ocean pack, science pack, to collect microplastic. I will show you how it is, and I need to change the filter at the same time. So I will show you. Up. So this is a ocean box, science pack, and so here we have a filter to collect microplastic, and I will show you. Like after all this filter is being collected and sent to see and collect the microplastic and see if it's from fisher net or plastic bottle or some other stuff in the ocean. So this is an old filter, and you can sometimes see some microplastic part already, but this one, yeah, definitely. Up. So I bring the new one. Close this, and I need to clip back the filter inside. Open the valve. Clack, clack, clack. Close it. And press the button, change filter, and then we are back running for another 200 liters until the next one.
Interesting to see the scientific equipment on board is not just about sailing, it's not just about going fast, not just about choosing the right sail to go up, but there are sort of responsibilities when you're a sailor on board. They kind of stretch quite far, right? You know, you're doing quite a bit. But here we are on board Alla Grande Mappe. Ambrogio Beccaria, the Italian skipper, 34 years of age. They've had a really good leg so far. I mean, they've really performed well. Obviously, their confidence ignited, absolutely exploded in all the best possible ways from that win into Genova, into Italy. And just take a look at how tight the racing has been through the night. We have Patrick Arquer right on that stern quarter of the Italian boat. They were able to almost trade off each other. The skipper looking, I think they're going to go for the jibe. I can tell what maneuver they're about to do because I can see how they're setting up the boat. We are that close. And I mean, Annie, when you're racing on these boats through the night, the temptation is let's take it a bit easier through the night, recharge our batteries. Oh no, there's a boat right on our heels. We can't give up on anything.
Yeah, no, look at that. I mean, oh, I'm kind of envious watching that now. You know, that's like match racing, but in the middle of the ocean. How cool is that on an IMOCA? And for those guys, I mean, they must be so excited. They proved it by winning a leg, and now they're proving it by staying there.
They really are pushing really forward, but doesn't it go to show that footage that we showed was last night? And then look now at the difference of the conditions, the difference of the atmosphere and the vibe on board. It was crash helmets, it was waterproofs, it was grab, hold, and hold on tight. Now it's soak up the sun, don't rock the boat, keep your movements slow and smooth. Thomas Riard just having a look up. Those little yawns, that little sigh, I think speaking to how intense the night was before, not wanting to give up any of that time at all. So there's constant shifting of gears, physically with how you sail the boat, but also mentally with how you approach the day, whether it's doing the navigation, whether it's doing the helming, whether it's doing the steering. Well, this is the drone footage that we were getting earlier from Team Amala. So this is that view. And Annie, I mean, you're if I can pigeonhole you, your skill set, or I should say you're certainly very adept to trimming. What's it like for you as a sailor to be able to look off that boat and get that sort of, that view of you know, the sails, the equipment that you're using, but from that view that you can't have when you're on board?
Yeah, I mean, you're right now. This is the money shot if you're a trimmer. And sometimes, you know, you see things on your sails from the drone which you really didn't think they looked like that. Because actually, when you're sat on the deck looking up, it looks quite different. You know, the amount of twist perhaps you've got in the sail, how deep it is, where the depth is. Those are the sorts of things we're looking at to get the most efficiency out of the sails. So it'd be fantastic if you could have a drone flying around all the time showing you your trim. But unfortunately, you can't. But this is a great shot of Amala here.
And all this, I mean, it's beautiful footage to look at. It's lovely to enjoy. You can see the difference in conditions from the front and the back in the fleet. Obviously, Amala is a very long way to the back, where we've got that front group of four. And then realistically, for Amala, you're talking 270 miles back. They're in very different breeze. And you were alluding to it earlier. If you're going to be behind, but be quick. At least it makes the situation of being behind feel like, well, we're not getting left here, we're not getting marooned.
Yeah,
okay, so
I mean,
on board now with Biotherm, and this, Annie, this is what we're saying, that different conditions. So we go from one boat happy that they're charging along, Biotherm with skipper Paul Mayer, 43 years of age, looking, well, yeah, that little bit of a look, that little bit of a raised eyebrow, that's the look of, yeah, I'm all right, but I could do with a little bit more breeze, you know? He's not too happy, I don't think, you know? He's feeling the pressure. It's just not been an easy leg for Biotherm. It's certainly been pretty intense. This was their journey during the night. And while we haven't had any reports of broaching, some serious thunderstorms, but Annie, I know you know these sailors pretty well. I mean, I'm sure that they've had their fair share of trials and tribulations over the last 24 hours. Yeah,
I mean, what a 24 hours it's been for them. they've probably been on code zeros, they've been on storm sails almost. You know, it's been a full range. I mean, the reefs, I dread to think how many times there've been reefs going in and out of that mainsail. So it's been, I imagine, a night of no sleep for anyone. And now, although it's light wind, and you think, well, that's good for them because they can relax, actually every centimetre is going to count here. So they must be exhausted.
Absolutely exhausted and having to work so much harder than they have done on those opening legs. I mean, the good news for Beertherm is in their position on the scoreboard, their earlier dominance of the race means that they don't need to win. They don't even need to come second. If they can just finish this leg in 4th place, that's it. The trophy is theirs. The one combination where they leave the smallest possible chance that they might not win the trophy is if they finish worse than 4th and Paprika win this leg. So far, Johan Richomme and the rest of the team on Paprika are doing what they can to make that happen. But if Paul Meyer can hold on to 4th or better, then that does mean the trophy is his. But it's always interesting because we always talk about this. As a sailor, hey, I'm on the water, I'm next to the best in the world, I just want to win.
I was going to say, Niall, who says, yeah, okay, as long as I just get 4th? I mean, Paul's out there, he's trying to win the leg, and that is the attitude you need because you don't know what's going to happen. So right now, they just want to keep trying to find that wind.
And just look at that view on the bottom left there. There's so much cloud, so much movement on the horizon as we go to Onboard live now with Team Militia. It looks the same, you know, this is only a boat that's just a couple of miles. In fact, actually, just looking off over Francesca Kapcic, who's helming at the moment, while Boris Herman, the skipper, is down below. Just behind her right shoulder, that looks to be another one of the IMOCAs. This front pack, so incredibly close at the moment. And I think that could be Allegrande Mappe back there. But for Team Militia, just have a look at how, well, I would say how welcome, perhaps, the light winds are, because this was an incredibly rough ride, an enormous broach that we saw, sailors, equipment getting flung around. It was Francesca Klapčić, it was Will Harris on watch at that point, in control of the boat. I use the word control lightly because sometimes the wind takes over, but it's that big ease of the sails, it's wrestling with the autopilot, it's trying to get the rudder to kick into action, and everybody now is up. Boris Herman coming out of his bunk. A violent broach on the water at 20, 25 knots. It's a very rude way to be woken.
Yeah, you don't quite get the reality there because the camera is obviously attached to the boat, so you don't see it tipping on its side. But I can tell you, if you're on board and you're the skipper in your bunk, you've just been thrown out and you're clambering on deck saying, what's going on? And that's always the dread when you're the person on deck, waiting for them to come out through the hatch and ask you what you're doing.
But it's nice to think, at least for them, I'm sure they want a little bit more breeze, but at least it's pleasant. And actually, all of our sailors, when they've been sending our updates, when we've been sort of checking in with them, and we said, oh, it's a bit light winds, there's all of them, every single one has said, that's fine. We've had quite the night. The night where it's been windy, that's fine. We can handle windy. But suddenly it's coming from this direction. Suddenly it's coming from the other direction. And at this point, there will be that thought of, I need a rest, but if I can just keep going for 3 more days, then the offshore section of the Ocean Race Europe 2025 is behind me. It will be a relentless push, I am sure, to try to just dig deep. And it will be that way for Paprika, because as we were saying, the skipper on board this boat, the Frenchman, Johan Richomme, he is the only sailor, the only skipper, the only team that is close enough to cause any problem for Beertherm on the overall score. But in order to keep that outside chance alive, he needs the win. He needed the bonus points off the gate. He got that, but now he needs the win. And look at how closely they come occasionally to slipping up in a major way. This is a big broach, but it's not just the broach during the night. It's also the fact the boat flipped back the other way. For here, we're leaning one side, then we're leaning the other. A broach into a Chinese jibe, and to judge the angle, just have a look at this as the skipper comes out from his bunk. That boat is on its side, over hard. And the danger with a maneuver like this is that you injure the sailors or you injure the boat. Happily, everyone seems to be okay, maybe a few scrapes. but the radar on the front of the mast is gone. And Annie, I mean, that radar, I think of that radar as avoiding ships, avoiding land, but weather-wise, I mean, it can be useful for squalls.
Yeah, I mean, right now, all they're doing is looking out for clouds, and of course, at night, you can't do that. So that radar is key equipment at night to see those big thunderstorms coming in, as well as boats, obviously. So that will be a big blow for them. Also, if it's gone, it probably means the back of one of the jibs is damaged, which is the thing that probably took it off. So there will be more damage. They're not the first person to do that, but it's definitely painful. And now someone's had to go up the rig and fix it, so that's more energy being used up. Every time you break something, it's not just the brake, it's all the energy it requires to then fix it and, you know, and make everything safe again. But I liked the shot we had there of Johan. I mean, he is focused on hunting down Biotherm, and that is clear. He is going for this win.
The more and more we go live onto these boats, I keep expecting to see 1, 2 people on watch. But they're not doing that. They've got multiple people on watch. They're hand steering so much of the time. They're not sitting back and saying, okay, let's lean into this marathon. We'll let the autopilot do a lot of the physical work on the rudder. You guys get some rest. This is, it's almost as if they've embraced the philosophy of, we want to cross the finish line and then collapse in a fit of exhaustion.
You know, I'm actually really interested to see how many of them are hand steering. I know that sounds stupid, but in our ocean race Europe, the last one, we didn't have an autopilot for a lot of it and ended up hand steering nearly the whole race. And in the end, we kind of think that's what gave us an edge, especially in those last 2 legs where it's very, very light, because the autopilot does struggle, however brilliant it is, in super light winds.
Well, we are, of course, following all the boats, and so is race control in Alicante. So here is the predicted leaderboard if these boats stay in their current positions. And as you can see, for Biotherm at the moment, they finish with enough of a points gap. If they finish this leg in this current position, they will be untouchable by the time we get to the final coastal race in Boka Bay and the last chance for that maximum 7 points. That is what is at stake here on the water. Every broach, every knockdown, every squall in the middle of the night, potentially missed, means we are going to see that trophy being decided for better or for worse. Well, we are back on board at the moment with Patrick Arquer and Johan Richomme, and I think he's going to give us a bit of an update.
I won? It's my turn?
Yes.
Welcome on board Patrick Arquer. We are currently sailing towards Ustica, the island of Sicily, doing about 8 knots, so it's pretty slow sailing.
And we are on leg 5.
We are on leg 5, but everybody knows we are on leg 5.
Since 2 days and... Vas-y, explique un petit peu ça.
Hein?
Explique un petit peu ça.
C'est affreux.
What happened?
So we've been on for what day are we? Wednesday. So we've been on this leg for 3 full days. We've left Genova on Sunday, sailed down the French coast, down the Med all the way to Minorca, underneath Sardinia, and now we're almost at Sicily. It's been a long journey already, and a long way to go. And we've had many thunderstorms, especially last night, with wind up to 35, 30, 36 knots. And we had a few mishaps, including 2 Chinese jibe. So we had a bit of damage on the boat because we ripped off the radar from the mast. So it's been hectic, but nothing that prevents us from sailing the boat at 100%, so it's cool. And there you go. Now we're sailing, we're 30 miles away from Ustica. So we have a few jibes to put in. And then we're going to go back around Sicily and then down to Greece.
Thank you, Johan.
All good on board Patrick Arquer.
You've got to laugh, but I think that's a decent answer to the question of what are the first signs of lack of sleep, of mental exhaustion. You know, when we're on land, we go, oh, what happened yesterday? But when you're on the water racing, hang on, that was 6 watches ago. You know, I've been asleep for 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there. I'm guessing that time comes sort of a bit, a bit abstract.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, all he knows is perhaps how many times it's gone dark, but that might not even have been relevant because, you know, if you're in the middle of, you know, something going on, it doesn't even matter if it's light or dark. And I think he almost looks drunk. I can assure you he's not drunk. That is just how you end up speaking after a few days of fighting the conditions in the Med. And yeah, he's, you know, the thing you know is that everyone's going to be like that. So it's just whoever can manage to hang on the best.
And
no
those boats that are, and those boats that are trying to hang on are essentially these 4: Team Paprika Care, Team Milizia, Biotherm, Alagrande Mape Racing. Of the boats that are on the fleet at the moment, these are certainly our top 4 and so close. It's difficult really just to say who is rightly in the lead. Team Paprika Care probably is just edging out. But as we've been saying in the last 24 hours, that lead turning inside out continually. Every single one of these boats has been the leader at one point in the last few hours, some of them multiple times. It's very challenging conditions. I mean, you look on board that top right-hand side, that's Team Milizia, that big white spinnaker just hanging there, no power in that sail. What a difference we saw from that action that we saw earlier. It's going to be really interesting for the last few days. And of course, you can follow all that action every Thursday and Friday at 2000 CEST on HBO Max and Discovery Plus. We have got Onboard. With all this technology, we can bring you the race like we've never been able to before. And we can follow every twist and turn as our sailors push on and we get into those final few miles before Boka Bay.